How many of you are ready to play a quiz with me? So I will read out items from the screen, and for each item that you have in your own life, count 1 point. And at the end of this quiz, we will see who has the highest points as a total individual score. All right? So let me begin. How many of you have a subscription to Netflix, Prime, or Hotstar? No need to raise a hand, just count 1 point towards yourself. Everyone keep your own individual count, no need to check with either or. How many of you have been to a library? No need to raise hand, count +1. How many of you have celebrated a birthday outside your home? How many of you go to a school? Yeah, everyone gets that. How many of you go for having fast food at least once a month? Keep counting. How many of you have a toilet at home? Pretty common, right? What's the rocket science in that? How many of you have monthly salaries or at least a business revenue at one of your parents at least, or both? I mean, how many of you have earning parents? That's what I mean to say. How many of you have a toy personally for yourself? Yeah. How many of you have at least one bank account in your families? Easy peasy, right? How many of you have ever been to a hospital? How many questions so far? 10. What are we missing? How many of you have a mobile phone for yourself or at least in your family? Easy? Okay. Which is the 12th one? All right. How many of you live in your own house? So, time for checking the total scores. Raise a hand if you got a perfect 12. Game over. Pretty much everyone gets all the 12 out of 12, right? Good job. Thank you. Now, how about I tell you that there are children almost same age group as yours and not very far from where we are standing right now. And when I played this quiz with them, would you believe most of them got the total score as 0. 0. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you to nomads. Nomads. These are called the forever wandering people without any permanent residence. You must be seeing them around the street signals, around the metros, very near at Mansarovar metro station as well. There are about 200 nomadic tribes in India and almost 2 dozens in Rajasthan itself. We know them as Khana Badosh, Ghumantus, sometimes known as Bhubaliyas in our own regional dialect. They're also called Romas or Gypsies in Europe and Northern Africas. And they are part of a global group who don't have a permanent base. Now, why is that in India? There are many tribes which you must have heard or seen already. Probably Banjaras. Banjaras, the ancient spice traders who used to pass through the forests in old days fearlessly. Many of them used to deal in salt primarily. Hence, some of them are known as Labaniyas. Labaniyas, the word originating from Lavan, meaning salt in Sanskrit. Then there are Bawariyas, the hunters. They used to catch and tame wild beasts and primarily earn their livelihood by selling honey, animal skins. and many other valuable body parts of rare animals. Then there are Kalbelias, the famous snake charmers who used to domesticate the venomous vipers and cobras, but also possessed traditional knowledge in treating snake bites when there was no concept of hospitals. And then there are nuts, the master acrobats. Picture this. A slender looking girl walking a tightrope tied on top of two tall poles, all the while clutching her infant close to her chest. In fact, there is a place near to the Sariska forest. It has two twin peaks, the two hills surrounding it, and it is said that once upon a time, a great nut acrobat lady, she tied a rope in between the two peaks and walked on that rope in the same fashion, hence giving the place its name as Natni Ka Bara. Charans, Bhopas, the royal courtesans, singers who used to sing ballads and write poems for the great kings, making their historical feats immortalized. You must have heard about Prithviraj's friend Chandravardai, hailing from the same community. But I'm sure you must have heard at least this particular tribe's name, Gadia Lohars. Gadia Lohars, the word itself meaning ironsmiths traveling on carts. Well, their origin is slightly different. They were originally the ironsmith clans who pledged to fight alongside their great Rajput king Maharana Pratap of Mewar against the vast Mughal armies. And they pledged that they will stay restless till their motherland is liberated. Centuries passed since then. They are still traveling on the road, displaced, migrated from their own homeland. They'll earn their livelihoods sometimes by selling or sharpening kitchenwares, knives, agricultural equipments near the agricultural hub spots. Times change, and with changing times, society must change as well. Do you agree? But most of these tribes, millions of their members, they haven't. They have been living quite a static life, and slowly, gradually, they got cut off from the mainstream of the society. And the fact that British Raj ruled over us for 200 years didn't help them either. During the British rule, a draconian law was passed to quash the rebellion by our freedom fighters. The law was Section 107 of CRPC. It has been amended now, but long back, in 1872, the law was passed which empowered any local police officer to arrest any individual without any magistrate's order on mere suspicion if, mind the condition, if they could not produce proof of a permanent residence. When did we get independence? 15th August 1947. And I think we got a brand new constitution around 26th January 1950. And yet, this injustice continued. Decades after the independence, the law remained as it is. Until one day, a young advocate just couldn't witness this injustice happening right in front of his eyes, and guess at what place? In a courtroom. That day, this young advocate did not just raise his voice, he hoisted an entire banner under which all these nomadic tribes united and sought refuge. The man is my father, Mr. Ratan Katyayani. 30 years ago, he established his NGO called Muktidhara with a target to bring these nomadic tribes back to the mainstream of the society, to give them equal opportunities, to give them dignity that they were so denied for centuries. Mr. Ratan Katyayani dedicated his life, risked his reputation, his property. There were times when he was beaten, thrashed in a moving roadways transport bus. He was incarcerated under false cases, even threatened for life inside a police station. But his resolve remained unmoved. By the turn of this century, around the 2000s, the world started to take notice. His efforts with Gandhian style sitting demonstrations, gheraos, helping the local village councils in finding surplus lands so that these nomads could be settled over there. It started getting noticed by the world around. And a major feat was achieved. Banjaras, Lohars, and many other tribes were given reservation under SC and OBC and SBC categories. In fact, Mr. Ratan Katyayani himself was declared the Man of the Year by the Week magazine around 2000. And he was called one of the 20 prophets of New India by the magazine. He was later given Disha Snehi Puraskar and Sarda Equal Opportunity Award, felicitated by the then Maharashtra Governor, Maharashtra CM, Mr. Sushil Shinde. Mr. Katyayani was not alone, however, in this fight. And I'm sure his resolve alone wouldn't have moved mountains. So let me tell you the story of another iron lady from the tribes themselves. Her name is Maya Devi. Now Maya, along with 16 other families of Gadia Lohars, they settled at a place called Thana Ghazi, near to that Sariska tiger forest itself. They were provided that place by the state government on the instruction of Rajasthan High Court. But courts and governments cannot change the mindsets of the local people, can they? So the locals, due to the centuries-old mistrust that they had, that these people are beggars, thieves, they don't deserve to live around us, they tried their best to shoo them away. They burnt their carts. They killed their cattle. They poisoned the well from which they fetched the drinking water. And even then, when the tribes didn't move, the limits of humanity was crossed. Maya's eldest daughter was abducted. Unspeakable, unmentionable crimes, horrors were committed on that teenage girl, barely a year or two older than you. And then her dead body was dumped outside their door. Maya ran from pillar to post. But nobody, not a single official, registered her FIR, her complaint, because of who she was. An illiterate Bhubalia. But Maya didn't give up, because giving up would have meant her entire tribe to be condemned for that wandering life once again. And that's where my father fought and won her case, got her justice, even got a humanitarian compensation from the state government. Now, because of Maya's courage, her tribe still lives at that place. Because of her, they didn't get displaced. Maya is not just an inspiration, she is a fighter. And above all, she is a survivor. Now, many of these tribes, especially Banjaras, they have progressed really well in the last 20, 30 years. They got educated, they got accepted as shop assistants in contractual jobs, even fought elections and became village councillors. But Lohars, they have pretty much remained where they were. Primarily, you can say partly due to government apathy, and somewhere they also have to blame themselves for it because of their disinterest towards a formal education. And that is where a ray of hope emerged in our story number 2, Pinky Bai. Pinky reached this settlement at a young age when she got married. And when she recognized the problem that there was, that the teenagers who became youngsters were not employable enough because they were not educated enough, she identified the pattern. Mind you, she is not a native of that tribe, she is a daughter-in-law. But she stood up, reached out to us, promised us that she will talk to the other girls like her and try to incorporate this change, that education be taken seriously. And true to her promise, last month when we organized a free Aadhaar registration camp, she did not just bring her two young children, she brought 9 other parents and their children as well. Yes, she deserves a round of applause. With girls like Pinky Bai amidst them, I have hope for nomads. But I think my final story today, well, this is a special one. So what happened 6 months ago, a girl just like you from Jaipur, she Googled around to help these homeless people wandering around the city, how to provide probably an identity card for them, arrange a campaign for it, and landed on our website. And when we spoke, she offered to be a volunteer. And not just that, she went above and beyond that and convinced her classmates, in fact, later convinced her school authorities to formally assist, and school did assist. I'm pleased to announce I'm standing at the very school today. And these girls are none other than your own seniors. Under the able leadership of Hitisha Goyal from Standard 12, as well as Ritu ma'am, the faculty in charge, we organized this massive survey camp over there. My father used to say, the day when civil society rises above their mistrust and biases and lends a helping hand to these nomadic communities, half the battle won. That will be the day when we will have brought truly a social change. Friends, 30 years later, we stand again at a juncture where the world is changing very fast. It's a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. Things simply don't make sense anymore. But the nomadic communities, thankfully, I don't find them alone. My friends there, my friends here, together stand with them. Don't we? Do we stand with them? Do we stand with them? And together, that day will come very soon when nomads will say, enough, we are no longer wanderers. Thank you.